Hey, what's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Today we are going to do yet another review video. Today we are looking at the Mattel Retros. This is Mattel Creations Wave 6, or all in all, you could look at it as Series 16 from Mattel Retros. Now there is actually one particular character in this line that I'm looking at, and theoretically I should be absolutely over the moon excited about this wave. Now I've seen pictures obviously of what these figures are going to look like, so I kind of have a general idea before I even take it out of the box. And when I saw these figures, you know what? I think as collectors, anytime we get new figures in or whatnot, we're gonna be excited. And when I was young, I've always said that Hasbro Series 4. And as a kid, I didn't know that they were made by Hasbro. I didn't know about Series 1 and 2 and all that. All I knew is that, hey, there were these wrestling figures that I had, and that was about it. But as an adult collector, I realized, hey, I had these Series 1 figures, I had these Series 2 figures, I had these Series 4 figures, and that was it. Nothing from Series 3, and only 3 figures from Series 4, right? But as a collector, later on as an adult, you know, a few years ago when I got into collecting wrestling figures, you know, I went full on and really went deep into collecting and learning and ensuring that I knew each figure in each series of release. So when fans talk about Hasbro's of the 90s, figures that if Hasbro had continued on for another year, if Hasbro had continued the line, had the contract with WWF and had continued on late into the 90s, certain characters that we would have gotten. There are certain characters that I always talk about that I feel like should have been made, and you kind of see them nowadays with companies like Zombie Sailors and with Grapplers and Gimmicks, Mattel Retros even, finally starting to come out with those respective characters. Characters like Diesel, 1,000,000% a character that Hasbro should have and would have released had the series continued. Mabel, probably the two biggest superstars I feel like were absolute necessities. You keep going, I think guys like Bash and Booger was absolute necessity. I think that someone like Max Moon, I didn't know a lot about Max Moon. I can't really remember him from childhood. I remember his like crazy, I don't know, Martian type look or whatnot. I thought that was such a fantastic look though. And he wasn't Martian, he was moon, so you know, Martian from Mars, so a moon isn't a planet, it's a moon. But you guys kind of get the idea of what I mean. So I kind of think like Diesel and Mabel, Bastion Booger, Jeff Jarrett, Henry O. Godwin would be one of those guys that you think would have come out. Duke the Dumpster Drosy would have been popular, right? So had this line continued, yeah. If we talked about in a previous video long time ago the unreleased orange card from Hasbro Series 12, and that's where you get the new release of Doink the Clown, the All-American Lex Luger. You finally get Mabel, you finally got Diesel, you finally got Bastion Booger, you got Jeff Jarrett. And you kind of look at all the different companies that I mentioned, from Mattel Retros, from Zombie Sailors, from Grapplers and Gimmicks, and all these companies that kind of went together. And I like the fact that when these companies came together, well, not really come together, but when they released their figures, even if that particular series release was a completely different card, I think Zombie Sailor Series 2 was red card, but when they released their Jeff Jarrett, they put him on an orange card because that's kind of what the unreleased Series 12 Hasbro was supposed to be. So I thought that was really awesome. One of the biggest freaking superstars of the 90s, and to this day, I forget his name. The name Jacobs is popping up in my head. I can't remember his first name. Mike Jacobs? No, he's not a baseball player. But the name Jacobs is coming to my head. But you guys know who I'm talking about. Kane, right? Well, before we got Kane, we got Isaac Yankem DDS. And unlike most people, I really liked Isaac Yankem. I thought he was freaking badass. So I've been talking about always wanting an Isaac Yankem, and I feel like he should have been like one of those cats right there alongside Diesel and Mabel that should have been made. Well, with Mattel Creations Wave 6, aka Series 16, we do get Isaac Yankem DDS. We also get another release of Shawn Michaels and yet another release of the British Bulldog. And who is this? Is that Alundra Blaze? Am I saying her name right? I'm not familiar with her, to be honest, but I think that's the female wrestler. And I really like that Mattel Retros is incorporating a lot of female wrestlers into the release of their action figures. LJN had one figure. I mean, come on. Mattel or Hasbro's in the 90s didn't have a single female release. Cella Toys only had a couple. Does Zombie Sailors have any? No, I don't think so. Grapplers and Gimmicks doesn't have any. So one of the things that I think they're doing really good at is, I don't want to tear open this box, but it's taped down. I had to go get me a knife. You know how meticulous I am with my collections, man. Freaking, even when I bring something, when I open up a package, I'm very meticulous about opening it up and trying my best not to damage the card or bubble. Now, luckily, a lot of new companies out there, a lot of these starter companies or small businesses, right? And Mattel have started incorporating this slide card, or this slow slide backing, which is freaking brilliant. I love that. So generally, I buy 2 sets of these figures. One obviously for my main collection, my main mint on card collection, and then a second one for a loose collection. And I should probably stop mentioning that because apparently that is too taboo, or that makes me scum of the earth. Shoot, man, I talk about buying duplicates, and now I've got all these trolls on my page complaining that, oh, I'm scum of the earth because I'm buying multiple figures. I'm like, look, I like multiple figures, all right? Like I said, I like having a mint on card. I like having a loose display. Sue me. I mean, it's not like these are ever going to run out, right? But you got jokers out there sending like little stupid messages on my page. And I try to do the right noble thing and respond and try and be like, hey, this is why I do this for that reason, or this, that, or the other, but I just kind of put me in the mood. At the beginning of this video, though, man, I talked about being so excited about the potential of a lot of these figures, but Mattel Retros does the exact same thing that Hasbro does, and that's recycle body types, and it's not its own unique figures, and it ruins a lot of the figures for me. So I want to start off with the one figure I've been dying for basically ever since I started collecting a few years back. And that is the Isaac Yankem DDS character. Card back looks great as always. Figure on card looks amazing. One of the things I really want Mattel to really dive deeper into is eliminate this whole black and white and actually add some digicolor to the back, because I don't know, I'm not a fan of that. But with easy remove backing, you could always bring these back to mint on card if you want. So, little sunglasses, or not sunglasses, oh wow, flashlight. Flashlight on the head. I'm pretty sure that's removable. Yes, it is. Oh, I lied. It's not removable. You know what? I think I might actually like that better. I don't know. I kind of feel like this part right here, over time, might break off. So, you guys know how I feel about built-on accessories. I prefer built-on accessories, but in an instance like this, I kind of feel like this, you're probably going to want to put that to the back if you're using this. If not everybody utilizes a simply display. You're probably, some parents out there are giving it to their kids. Some adults use these for actual play for themselves. And you're probably going to put that to the back, right? So I feel like eventually that this, because that feels like thin plastic, and you go back and forth, it's like the aluminum can. When you open up a pop can and you using back and forth on the top, it's going to eventually break off the top of the can, right? So, but that's nice. I like that. Kane, Undertaker, they both have the exact same fighting pose. And it's not just the slamming motion, which is fine, but it's basically this body type with the hands out like so. You get the purple Undertaker, and then they re-released the purple Undertaker again, and it was with the Phantom of the Opera mask on, right? Or you got Kane with this body type, and now you got Isaac Yankem. So, I don't know. I really want some kind of separation. I really wish that they would have created some different modes. I get it. Financially, it's easier to keep using the same body type over and over again. But I'm sure that there are probably tens of thousands, dare I say millions. I don't know. I don't know how many people actually buy these. But I would have to assume a very large margin of people buy these figures. If you told me 1 million people buy these action figures, I'd believe you. 10,000 seems a bit small, but you got to be making some kind of profit on that, right? Or else you wouldn't be putting them out every so often. But he does have the Isaac Yankem look. What kind of makes me feel weird is that this is kind of like how I remember him, right? Isaac Yankem. And even later on when he became Kane and has the long hair and everything, I kind of reflect on Smallville. And seeing Kane in Smallville with the shaved head and everything, I don't know, man. To me, I'm like so used to the long, straight jet black hair and everything. And so kind of seeing him with the shaved head, it was so freaking odd. But, you know, I don't know if anyone here actually watched Smallville back in the day, but, well, when was that? Like season 7, I think. So that would have been, I don't know, 2007 maybe. 2007, 2008, something like that. It was actually a really good episode. Kane played like an alien or whatnot, so it is a good figure. It is a fantastic figure. Definitely one of the better figures of the entire line. The only reason I'm not as ecstatic about this as I generally would have been, hearing Isaac Yankem released, heck yeah, through the moon, excited. But getting the same reusable body type over and over again, that ruins it for me. But the look is great. I love the built-on cloth accessory, or not built-on, but the removable cloth accessory. You do have a little Velcro back here. The shirt is removable if you want to. So, overall, positive. Like it a lot. And, like I said, I bought 2 of these packs. So, the other box I haven't opened up yet, because I don't really have any space anymore for my mint on card collection display. So the last 2 releases from Mattel Creations, I haven't opened up the brown box. But at some point I am gonna have to find somewhere to move them so that I'm able to display everything properly. Because eventually Ringside Collectibles are going to do the same thing. They're going to start releasing their third set of figures, their fourth set of figures, etc. And I want to be able to display those. Good figure. I like that they finally got Isaac Yankem out. Shawn Michaels, upside and downside. And first and foremost, we will start with the downside of this figure. I cannot argue enough about how I do not like having the same characters released over and over and over again. That is so annoying. Hasbro was absolutely terrible at that. And Mattel Retros is no better. They release the same characters repetitiously. Now, with that being said, if you look at the original release of Shawn Michaels from Hasbro with the all red pants and whatnot, with the leg up, you know, the kicker like that. So one of the worst action figures ever. In fact, I think the Mattel Retros with the kicker, I think that could be the worst pose. Probably even worse than the Hasbro sucker punch that you get from like Rick Rude and whatnot. So, I do like that they give Shawn Michaels a legitimate figure, because that one was straight trash. This one actually looks like Shawn Michaels, where that one, you look at the face, was just, again, straight trash. No positives about that figure. The overall design and look of the pants is spectacular, and I thought Isaac Yankem might be the highlight of this collection, but looking at the figure, the fighting pose, Shawn Michaels might actually be the premier figure. And kind of going back and looking at figures like Jerry Lawler, who has this fighting pose, or I believe Billy Gunn has this fighting pose when it was released from Ringside Collectibles. This with the bigger, stronger arm, I don't know. I like these figures a little bit better. And I think their arm punching motion works better than what it does with the Hasbros. So the overall look and aesthetics of the figure, absolutely incredible. Is Series 16, from what I've seen thus far, is this the strongest series? No. I can already tell you. Is it worth it? I'd say yes. Just simply because of Isaac Yankem, that figure alone it makes it worth it. But this is a really nice upgrade to the Shawn Michaels. And if you're not like me, and you're a collector, but you just want figures or characters that you care about, and you want the best quality figures, and you don't want to pick up, you want a Shawn Michaels, but you don't want that crappy one that Mattel had in the early years, this is a nice little nice pickup as well. You could pick it up on auction or something off eBay, but you're probably going to go $25, $30 for it. And here's something I find funny. I'm seeing a lot of figures go on auction loose, and they go for $25, $30, $40. And we're talking Mattel Retros, loose figures. But I could put a mint on card figure on auction with a starting bid of like $20, and it will get like no views. And I'm wondering, and guys, anybody that's watching this, if you feel this way, please let me know, because I'm curious. Maybe this is my theory. I think people are like me, and they simply don't want to destroy card backs or whatnot. Like for me, it hurts my soul to sit there and open up a card backing. That's why I love these easy release card or slide card backs, because you're not damaging the card or bubble. But when you have to sit there and actually tear open the bubble from the package, it really hurts as a mint on card collector. So I'm thinking a lot of people would rather spend money on a already removed figure than to have to buy a carded figure and have to hurt their souls and open it up. Or maybe that's just how I feel, so maybe I'm projecting on them. But it's just my working theory. If anybody agrees and thinks that that's a genuine idea, a general theory, then if you have that same mindset, please let me know. Because if I gotta start opening these figures to sell them loose, to actually make a sale, man, that's what I gotta do. But Shawn Michaels, and what is that? Is that like an anchor or something? He's got like a little tiny tattoo on his arm, but I can't really make that out. Very, very positive look of the figure. So I'm going to start with the female here. It is Alundra Blaze, and I kind of feel like this is a name I should be familiar with. Like, I've heard that name through passing or through word of mouth or like through collecting or whatnot, but like I don't know if I've ever seen her wrestle. Like, I don't know if she's like a more modern day wrestler, like someone from like the 90s, early 2000s, or if she's someone from like the 80s. I don't think so. I think she's a more modern day, like 90s and onward type of wrestler. And I could be wrong, but I think all the female wrestlers that you're getting from Mattel Creations, I think all the females have the exact same body type. You know, Wendy Richter as an example. If they do, I mean, this is a perfectly fine figure. Perfectly fine fighting pose. And I said something like, you know what, if you're creating like an LJN figure, and if you had 70 LJNs and all LJN figures were nothing but Hulk Hogan figures, that was fine. If you're creating WCW Gloob and all of them were like Sid Vicious, that's fine. Because you're using perfect figures for every single one. So if you're creating the same, look at AWA Remco's. They all have the exact same pose, roughly, with the minor swaps here and there, but roughly they all have the exact same pose. And I'm pretty sure fans had a real good time wrestling with those figures because they were all playable figures. So if you're going to use this for every single female wrestler, do I really want to complain about that? You've got an enjoyable, it's not like super thin, super small figure, so that's something. It looks fantastic, great pose, great color and detail. If it works, why change it? It's probably like one of the only figures that I'll sit there and I might say I'm okay with that particular figure staying the same with all of them. But even so, you want to see some kind of difference, right? You want to see some kind of change and some difference. You don't want all of them to be the exact same pose. You want that uniqueness with any type of item that you collect. I don't like I said, I don't have any history or anything or any knowledge of this character, so outside of just hearing the name during collecting or during my buying days, I might come across like a Mattel figure. I don't know. What kind of thing? When I'm talking about Mattel, I'm talking about think about like Jakks Pacific, like their regular figures, elite figures. That's what they're called, Mattel Elites. Like I might come across a figure or two of hers right there, but I don't know anything about Alundra Blaze, so I don't have much to say about her. I can't remember if this is a secondary release or if this is the first time in the line that we're seeing this particular character. But we do have a Davey Boy Smith British Bulldog. Now I'm thinking hard, but I think that this might be the first time. You know, Cella Toys obviously has probably a couple of different releases of British Bulldog, and that's it. Oh yeah, Epic Toys. Epic Toys came out with British Bulldog, but they came out with Epic Toys came out with the tag team, but the Hasbro series for British Bulldog was perfectly fine. You know, hands open, slamming motion. Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and all these other characters that had that same exact body pose, that's perfectly fine. And look, it's basically the exact same figure. Legs spread apart, hands open, except instead of, slamming down, he does that little, kind of like a body slam type of deal. Figures like this, like John Cena and Ultimate Warrior, and all the figures that have like this dual chest area, I don't like that. They came out, and I kind of put him in the same boat as like Lex Luger's be another one. Yeah, you had regular Lex Luger, and then you had like the All-American Lex Luger. Or was Lex Luger first? No, I think Lex Luger was actually a first-time go as well with the All-American look. I can't remember if there was another Lex Luger in this particular line. I don't think so. But when I look at Mattel Retros, they're called retro for a reason, because they're mimicking or is supposed to be in conjunction with the Hasbros of the 1990s. So when I look at these figures, I'm like, look, if there are certain figures or certain characters that were released in the 1990s in Hasbro, I don't want to see those figures or those characters released in retro form. Look at Bret Hart from Mattel Retros. Bret Hart had two of the most perfect figures released in Hasbro, and then he comes out, you give him a Mattel Retro with one of the worst figures of Mattel Retro line. What were they thinking? Lex Luger, British Bulldog, they both have that arms out, hands open, slamming motion in Hasbro, right? But Mattel Retros released the figures, and they basically give them the exact same pose. So not even a change there. It is nice that they kind of get rid of the pants and kind of swap it out with the trunks. So it's a nice little detail or color scheme change, outfit change. But the overall look is relatively exactly the same. So this is a really good batch of figures. A really fun batch, I think. But like, is my mind blown by any of these figures? Do I think that these are, of all of the 16 releases of Mattel Retros, do I put this batch of release on my top 5 of favorite releases? I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't think so. One thing I will say is all 4 figures are fantastic. They really are. I've had my complaints with pretty much each and every one of them, but don't get me wrong, all 4 figures are fantastic. Definitely worth a pickup, but based on my recommendations here and there are subtle changes I would have appreciated, and I know there's a lot of people out there that kind of share my sentiments, and I know there are a lot more people who are gonna look at these and be like, "Nah, man, you're crazy. These they're perfectly fine the way they are." It's just fun to kind of talk about them, right? And kind of hear different points of view and interpretations and whatnot. So I don't have any hate towards these figures. I think they're good. I just feel like they could be better. So that is Mattel Retros Series 16. I could have sworn I saw another batch of figures before these, and maybe they're the next wave of figures, and I can't even remember what was in that wave, because there was one particular character that kind of stood out to me. And I know it wasn't this one, because I would have remembered Isaac Yankum. And it's going to kill me that I can't remember what it was, but... And I'm going to end the video, and it's going to pop in my head, and I'm like, oh, heck. But guys, hopefully this was a pretty enjoyable video for you guys, and you get the opportunity to go on Mattel Creations. I'm sure that these figures are not going to sell out anytime soon. So if you got time and you got the funds available, they're like, what, $60 for a 4-pack. So they're not crazy expensive, but I always say, if you feel like you might be interested and you might want to just jump the gun and buy them, because trying to get them on eBay later, it's going to be up there in price. You're probably going to pay $60 for just 2 figures eventually on auction or something. So I always recommend trying to go for it. And, you know, if you only want 1 figure, take the figure you want and try to resell the others. Hold on to them for a year or so, and any of the guys that are left over who haven't picked them up a year or 2 down the road, they might be willing to pay a little bit extra to pick them up, especially if nobody else has them available anymore. So, because otherwise you're going to be selling against a million other people who are trying to sell the same thing. Alright guys, that's it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them, and I will respond as quickly as I can. And until next time, thanks guys.